Here we are today with one of college basketball's greatest coaches and certainly one of its finest gentlemen, Joe Hall, legendary coach at the University of Kentucky. Joe's a coach who, along with Dean Smith and Bob Knight, are the only ones that played on a national championship team and coached a national championship team. And now the rewards are starting to pile up. You're going into the College Basketball Hall of Fame this year. You've had your jersey retired at Kentucky. And the next thing now is to mount a effort to get you into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, because you certainly deserve to be in there, Joe.
I appreciate you saying that, George. Thank you.
And I appreciate you accepting the opportunity to visit with our viewers and that. Joe, take us back to the early years of Joe Hall when you were growing up. Where did you grow up, and what were the early years from an athletic standpoint like for Joe Hall?
You know, where you are today, George, is so dependent on where you were as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a small town, Cynthiana, Kentucky, about 4,500 people. And I spent the summers on my uncle's farm. Mm-hmm. From the time I was 9 years old. When I was 9, I drove a mule with one line, plowing corn and tobacco. Mm. And I stayed there the whole summer and worked on the farm. And my uncle, who owned the farm, we competed in every bit of farm work that we did. We raced. He was a great competitor, a hard worker, and a very successful farmer. And I learned a lot from him. My dad was a great athlete that didn't compete in high school athletics, but he was a super swimmer. He was could do anything with an automobile, and had great athletic talent. Not to have experienced high school or college sports, but I grew up loving sports, loving competition, loving hard work. And I think those things were the molding factors in my life. The discipline of working every day in the fields, having to earn your keep, so to speak, by what you did. And also, you learned a lot about the love of work, George, and the feeling of being important and having the importance in society. When you could cut a field of tobacco and have it rolled and on sticks after a day's work, or you could look out in the cornfield and see the shocks all lined up that you had cut that day, you had a feeling of accomplishment. And that taught you something about life and about what you could do with hard work and stick-to-itiveness.
Uh-huh. And so, Joe, confronting yourself on a daily basis with the chores of farm life and then going to school and being a young man, how were you able to find time to participate in athletics?
I guess there was a need in a small high school. Just about every kid played football or basketball. Mm-hmm. We were not large enough to have baseball, nor did we have the facilities. Mm-hmm. But we had basketball and football, and that competitiveness, that willing to work, just fit in with athletics, and it just was in my line of enjoyment. Mm-hmm. I don't think in my lifetime have I ever worked a day. I enjoyed everything I ever did. Mm-hmm. And when you put fun into work, it's no longer work. And when you enjoy doing something and you make it your life work, then you never have a day of work. Mm-hmm. It's just total pleasure. And athletics were that for me. But I'll say this, I worked in the industry. I worked as a traveling salesman before I got into coaching, and I enjoyed that because it was still competition. Mm-hmm. life is competition.
Every single day.
Every single day. And if you love to compete, well, whatever you're in, you enjoy.
Joe, you started out, as I understand it, really having a broader passion for football initially than basketball. At what point did you start to discover that maybe basketball was the sport that you're going to pursue?
I was a quarterback in high school, and I was a linebacker on defense. I loved being the hitter more than the hitting.
Getting hit, yeah.
But I was good enough to get some attention from some of the smaller colleges, but when Coach Rupp offered me a scholarship at Kentucky, why, there was no comparison. And I chose basketball, maybe for economic reasons more than anything.
They tell a story that when you were a youngster growing up, you used to listen to the UK games on the radio, and you'd keep your own little running score of the games, and is that true?
My brother and I, Bill, who was 3 years older than me, we'd sit one end of the bed and me at the other with coffee cans, and we'd shoot paper wads into the coffee cans as the cats played. And then we gravitated to the kitchen table where we would keep score on our papers. And I remember the oilcloth on that table. When you got through, you had to pop it up to get the imprint off of it. But we kept scores. Our idols were naturally the Wildcat players and the older players. And that was something that I had to adjust to when I went to Kentucky, because Wawa Jones and Ralph Beard, Alex Groza, Cliff Barker, Kenny Rollins, the Fabulous Five were my idols. And then all of a sudden here I'm on the floor with them. And I couldn't grow to that position because they were just like idols to me. I had all of their pictures in my high school scrapbook, and I was a young kid on the block. A lot of them were service returnees, and it was quite an experience, one I'll never forget.
Joe, what was your most memorable experience as a high school athlete?
Well, I can't select just one, but I got a knee tore up in the game one night. We were playing Paris High School, and I completed 19 out of 21 passes in that game. But in the last drive for a touchdown, we were tied 12-12, and neither of us had field goal kickers back then to get extra points, and we'd always run for the extra point. And after I'd thrown the pass, I shouldn't have, but I stood there to watch her fly the ball, and I got hit inside out on my left knee. And I went home. Well, I threw a touchdown pass after I got hit. And I went home that night, and my knee swelled up about like a cantaloupe. And went to practice that Monday, hadn't said a word to my coach. I tried a quarterback spinner, and my knee just went flopping out, and I fell to the ground. And the coach asked me what was wrong. I showed him my knee, and they sent me to a doctor. And he said, well, son, you got water on the knee. And they taped me up, put a big old brace on my knee with steel hinges, and I played the rest of the season. And I didn't know it, but I was afraid that it would affect my basketball. But by the time basketball season started, my knee was back in enough condition that I could play. So that was the biggest thing that happened to me in high school sports.
Yeah, I mean, you might have been up in the NFL if you'd have stayed with football.
Well, no, I don't think so. I wasn't fast enough or big enough, but to be an NFL quarterback. But I remember that was a heyday for quarterbacks at Notre Dame.
Oh, yes.
And I would have crawled to Notre Dame to play quarterback.